Welcome once again to HTV Africa. Welcome once again to Humanist TV Africa is HTV Africa, and we are here to happen again. The show is Karande Gang, and my name is Kato Mukasa because I'm Ugandan, interested in issues human rights, and we always meet here and share issues to do with human rights, politics, economics, and so much more. We want to encourage you to please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, which is Human TV Africa, and the same name for our Facebook page, which is Human TV Africa. But also encourage you to write to us an email at humanistvafrica@proton.me. Our email is humanistvafrica@proton.me. You may want to advise us on how we can do business better. You may want to join us as a volunteer. Remember, this is an NGO. We work as volunteers. You may want to be a news anchor. You may want to be a journalist with us, a panelist, a guest speaker on one of our shows. You may want to be a trainer. We give you space to come and train people. Please, welcome to join Humanist TV Africa. Write to us. The email is humanistvafrica@proton.me. It will be received by either Dennis Bongole or Brian Kabeko. Brian is in Kenya, Dennis is in Uganda. Those are the administrators of this TV station. They'll be able to receive your emails and respond to you accordingly. At the same time, we want to encourage you to please keep it tuned to Humanist TV Africa, because as we say, our motto says, we are reaching out to humanity. Now, this is a humanist TV, but we use Africa symbolically because technically all of us come from Africa. That's our birthplace. So this TV is for all of us. It doesn't matter whether you're in the US, whether you're in the UK, whether you're in Asia, or an Asian, Caucasian, black man like me. This is our TV. It is Humanist TV Africa. It's not regional specific. We are in Africa, we are in Europe, and at the moment, we are in the US having studios there. We are growing slowly but steadily, and we shall be there. Today, we are going to be discussing the main theme is Katande Gang, politics, economics, and the region in Africa. But of course, we are going to be handling a subset, a sub-theme, which is origin, meaning, and relevance of Christmas today. This is episode 3. Don't be misled. This is episode 3. So if you want to catch up with what we have said before, you have to go back into our archives and see what we said before. We are going to be discussing this theme until the Christmas day, because it's the moods of Christmas. We are still talking about origins, meaning, and relevance of Christmas. Today, I'll talk about the origins personally of Christmas, because I've been leaving my colleagues to talk about it. But I'm going to have a special show where I'll even show you images of whatever I'll be talking about. That show won't be this one. I'll even show you images, photographs, call them memes and all that, that actually explain the origins and meaning of Christmas. Now, I expect my colleague from Sierra Leone, Emmanuel Mambo, to be in the studio, and I wish that he's in the studio. But in the meantime, is my colleague, the honorary Tarokman with the hoodie, Sir Nandip Bongfa. who is from, of course, Nigeria, is the gatekeeper of the Tarok culture. Welcome, Nandip Bonfa.
Thank you. Thank you, Comrade Kato. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Now, Nandip, if you permit me, let me start this show by giving a bit of introduction about Christmas. But as I said, I'm going to be very brief. I'm going to have a show where I'll give a bigger picture of the origin of Christmas, and I'll be giving you pictures, images to show you how Romans fabricated Christmas. I will start it this way. That number one, Jesus Christ, if at all was born, was not born on 25th of December. I'll repeat that. That if at all Jesus Christ was born, let us agree that the man was born. But if he was not born on that day. Why? I'm going to show you a few pointers for now. Number one, the month they chose to say he was born in that month is a winter season, is a very cold month. It's the month of December. Those of you in Europe, no. And those of you in Asia, no. If you talk about Bethlehem, where they assumed he was born, as I speak now, Israel, that part of Bethlehem, Israel, is also experiencing a bit of coldness, winter. It's not as hot as it is in Ghana or Nigeria or Uganda. It is experiencing that winter, solstice, as they call it, that season, where the moon, God moon, fights darkness. Now the pagans, or the pagans, or the heathens, as they call them, the non-believers. You know, when the Christians found their Jesus Christ, they called me a non-believer. They called an unbeliever because they thought that by finding Jesus, all of us were infidels. They called us pagans. They called us heathens. They called us Gentiles. They called us all names to demean us. People who never believed in their fabricated Jesus Christ. Now, the heathens from the 4th century, or even before, actually before the 4th century, the heathens in northern hemisphere, Nandip knows geography. When I said people in northern hemisphere, whoever's watching us, I want to give you homework to find out who are the people that live in northern hemisphere. Those people, in brief, Caucasians, always believed in a multitude of gods, in so many gods. And now, the month of December was always a month that had 12 special days of pagan, heathen celebrations. They would start their celebrations and they could last for 12 days. People in present-day Denmark, Norway, call them the Vikings, if you want. The Danes, the Saxons, call them the English, the British. And others had their pagan ways of worshiping. And because that time of December, as we say, winter solstice, is a special time for them, that there is a fight between God, I can call the God moon, and darkness, they would celebrate for 12 days in a pagan worship. And in those days, 12 days, from 25th December to 5th January, they were celebrating. Basically, what are they celebrating? They are celebrating a fight between a god of light and a god of darkness. And this fight is in a winter. The place is cold. But these people, because they wanted to party, and they were sun worshippers, but also moon worshippers, just like our ancestors in Nandip. Our ancestors were sun worshippers, but also moon worshippers. God moon, up to now, is a god if you wish. God sun, up to now, is a god if you wish. Why did Africans worship the sun? Why? Because the sun determined whether they're going to have food. The sun determined life. Kemetic Africa worshipped God sun. The sun was a god. For them, people in antiquity, whatever they couldn't find an answer for, they said God did it. That's why I call it the God of the gaps. Whatever they failed to find an answer for, they could say God has done it. So God moon was worshipped for giving them light in darkness. God sun was worshipped for giving them life during day and giving them fruits, plants, vegetables, and everything. Because once there is no sun, there is a problem. Now, God sun and God moon were universal gods. I want to make that one clear. All over the world, people worshipped the sun, S-U-N, and people worshipped the moon all over the world. There were two universal gods that never changed. People in Africa worshipped the sun. People in Asia worshipped the sun. People in Europe worshipped the sun, including people in the New World, call it USA. There was no USA then. It was a place called the New World. Even later on, there were native Indians, Cherokees, and others. It was a wilderness. But people, wherever they were, always worshipped two universal gods. One, the god sun, we always see every day, and two, the god moon, we always see every night. Now, during December, for many years, people in Europe, in Asia, but especially in Europe, say the Saxons, say the Romans, say the Visigoths and others, always worshipped their god of light during the winter solstice period. So there were always about 12 days of worshiping. Now, why were they worshiping? I've explained, because they worshipped that god of light, and they thought that this god has fought darkness and won. As I speak right now, Nandip, it is about 6 p.m. in the UK. It's dark. There is darkness. Now, why were they worshiping the moon? The moon gives them light. Because darkness comes a bit early, but once the moon comes, then there is light, there is life. So they worshipped the god moon during that time. And they always had 12 days of dancing, sex orgies, sex parties, of eating special food in Nandip. Everyone would bring their best food during the 12 days of dancing and having sex in the open. Why? It's darkness at noon, as Arthur Koestler, my Russian writer, put it in a book called Darkness at Noon, where darkness comes when it's supposed to be sunlight, but darkness comes. Here, darkness these days comes at about 5 p.m. Sometimes at 4, there is darkness. Now, people worshipped that special God of light that gave them life even during darkness, because they thought that once the moon came, it took away the darkness, which was coming early. So the pagan days were always 12. People in Denmark, Iceland, Norway, Netherlands, they were not called Netherlands by that time. They were chiefdoms and kingdoms. All of them worshipped the winter solstice, that period. Now, what happens when they create Christmas? And who creates Christmas? And where does the word Christ comes from? But first, let us look at Jesus Christ. Was he born in December? No. All of you are educated to know that actually December was not his month. He was not born on 25th January. December. I've told you from the 25th to 5th, from the 25th of December to 5th of January, it was a period of celebration, pagan worship. Now, when was Jesus Christ born? Let me accept for once that he was born. Let us look at 3 calendars: the Julian calendar, the Gregorian calendar, and the Jewish calendar. 3 calendars. One day I will have a thread where I'll talk about how did we come to arrive on days. Why do we have Monday? Why do we have Sunday, Monday? Why do we have Tuesday? One day I will have a special talk about that. Let us talk about the calendars now. Now, briefly, the Jewish calendar was different from the Julian calendar. It was also different from Gregorian calendar. They were different. The Jews didn't count months the way the Romans counted months, the way the Greeks counted months, the way the Arabs counted months. They never counted the same way. Even Ethiopians in Africa had their own calendar. They never arrived at the same answer. Yet all of them, interestingly, believed that a year has 12 months. But somehow there was a difference. For example, the Jewish calendar, when you look at it, their months are not named as the months you see, January, February, no. They have special names. Now, apart from having special names, for them, their month, sometimes actually, I can say, when you look at a month that starts in the middle, now, for example, we have January, okay? Or we have December. Now, we know that December starts on 1st and then ends, say, on 31st, okay? But for them, their month of December starts on the 15th of December. And then it's going to end on the 15th of January, but they are still looking at December. You get the difference? The Jewish calendar. Anyone can research this. Their way of calculating the month is different from the Romans. It's different from the Greeks. For them, they start these people's month in the middle. The Jewish calendar starts January from the 15th, for example, and it ends January in February 15th. January has ended. In February 15th, for them, their January is ending. Now, these are the differences between these calendars. The Jews have a different calendar, and the Romans have a different calendar, and the Greeks and the Ethiopians and other civilizations have their own calendars. But somehow, due to the Sumerians' history, they have the same counting system of the months, of the time. We shall look at that. Why do we have 60 seconds, for example? 60 minutes, 60 seconds at 12 months. There's history about that. Now, but all these are mired into worship, into mystery, into astronomy, into astrology. They look up there and determine stuff. They were intelligent people, by the way. Now, when you look at the Jewish calendar, Israel's calendar, Jesus Christ was not born in December. If at all he was born in September. Anyone can look that one up. Not in December, but in September, if you had to follow their own calendar. Why? You look at the messenger who announced to Mary that she will be pregnant. I know you read the Bible, Nandib. I'm going to give you a food for thought, homework. Find out who is that messenger that went to Mariam Mary and told her that you are going to be a mother of a God. And then that woman also was expecting a baby. And that woman was 6 months pregnant. Yet, she's 6 months pregnant. She delivers the good news. Some people say angel, whatever it is. And then, when you count from the time she told Maria, or Mary, you are going to be a mother of Jesus, she delivers after 3 months, then you count that. Let us assume that she have told Mariam, when she's 6 months old, then you are going to count seriously that now once she tells her, she conceives. Okay? Mariam conceives, the mother of Jesus conceives. Then you begin counting from that time. So when you count properly, you're going to find out that Jesus Christ technically was born in September, not at all in December. And I'm putting a rider, I'm putting a cover that assuming he was born. It is not December, it is September. People must educate themselves. But why do Romans choose December? I've answered the question. Number one, Pope Leo and Pope Julius were always against pagan festivities. The popes hated the pagans for celebrating their days, their 12 days in December. Therefore, what do? They convinced the emperors of that time. They convinced emperors of that time to think about changing the birth of Christ from the so-called September birth to December. Why? To destroy the worshipping of paganism during December. So you are going to look at emperors such as Severus Alexander, who was emperor in 222, and how he was trying to influence the changing of the worshipping season to give it to Christ. Remember that Christ was born in about the 4th century. Look at that. And we always say BCE, before the Christ era. So why do you say Christ era? Then Christ was born there. Why don't we say before the common era? Now, if he was born in 4th century, how come that the first mega Christmas to be celebrated in Rome only happened in the year 800 AD? The first mega big one that covered the entire Rome or Roman Empire happened 800 AD, which is about in the 9th century. Yet Christ is assumed to have been born in the 4th century or thereabout. How come it takes 5 centuries to celebrate his birth? Why? The biggest celebration that happened in Rome to celebrate Jesus Christ happened in the year 800 AD. Why not in the 5th century? Why not in the 6th century? Why wait to the 9th century? Why? Because the pagans had refused to accept Jesus Christ. Remember what Constantine did? Emperor Constantine, Nandip, look at me as we talk. Emperor Constantine, the year is 325. The year is 325. Emperor Constantine knows he's going to lose the Roman Empire. It's becoming weak. It's becoming frail. There are so many wars. The Jews are fighting him. The Ottomans, the Arabs, not the Ottomans yet. The Arabs are becoming a force to reckon with. And now he's facing an own challenge within the Roman Empire. Constituencies, chiefdoms, kingdoms want to break away. The Saxons are fighting him. Now, what do? he must look for a solution. Now, the year is 325. This Roman emperor, who was now becoming weak, and who had a mother who was already a Christian, the mother of Constantine was now a Christian. Then Constantine calls his council and tells them, I've got a vision, just like Paul. A man's soul turns into Paul. I've been walking and I've got a vision and I'm supposed to become a Christian. Why? Because he had seen what other emperors had tried to do to fight the Jews and fail. Judaism is becoming a force. The Jews, who are the slaves of the Romans, are saying Romans are pagans. Now, how do you defeat the Jews? Use their own version, washed version, not Judaism, but something within them, a cult, pop it up and make it a religion. So, Emperor Constantine, to survive the politics of the day, he's becoming weak. He says, now I'm Christian. I'm going to make peace with the cult of Christianity, and I'm going to emphasize that it's our religion. He calls the Council of Nicaea, or Nicaea, as people call it, 325, and it sits for several months without breaking. Then they decide on which book becomes part of the Bible. Remember, I told you the story of Emperor Nero, who killed Cicero, the philosopher, for denying to think like Emperor Nero, who killed Piso, General Piso, for wanting to take over. Emperor Nero dies. Who takes over? Emperor Vespasian, the general of Emperor Nero, takes over. All those guys are beating up the Jews, but the Jews are not defeated. The Jews fought Romans for over 300 years. For over 300 years, Jews fought Romans. Emperor Nero failed them. Vespasian became a general, became an emperor, failed them. The son of Vespasian became an emperor, who was called Tito. Titus failed the Jews, fighting the rebellion. His brother, called Domitian, also failed to beat the Jews, to beat Judaism. Then you can see years passed by, so many emperors passed by, Severus, Antoninus, and others passed by until we arrive to Constantine. 325, he calls a council and says, now I am a Christian. And then the Council of Nicaea says, we are now going to agree on which books makes the Bible. And this is when we see the Bible coming in shape. And the year is 331, the Edict of Milan. Nicaea is in Turkey because the Roman Empire was big. The Council of Nicaea was a city in Turkey, present-day Turkey, or Ottoman. Now, the Edict of Milan is in Italy, call it Rome, Roman Empire. They have Nicaea in Turkey, and then they have another meeting in 333, the Council, the Edict of Milan, and by law, by stroke of a pen, Christianity becomes a religion of the Romans, and by extension for the entire Roman Empire. So in brief, what I'm saying is, look at the history of Christianity, look at the history of Jesus, look at the calendars of the time, Gregorian calendar, Julian calendar, and the Jewish calendar, and then look at the practice of pagan worshipping, the solstice, winter solstice, the gold moon versus darkness, which was always celebrated between 25th of December to 5th of January by entire populations in Europe. Then you will know why Constantine said, okay, now from today onwards, we are going to have our Christmas officially on the day these pagans have been using. It becomes Christmas Day. Briefly, How do we get Christ? When Jesus Christ was around, he never said that he's a Christian, never anywhere. When Christ was around, no one was called a Christian. Why do we see people becoming Christians? Look at the history of Antioch, the first church in Antioch. Where is Antioch? Food for thought. Now, the people in Antioch, who were basically not Jews, not Europeans, always said that, look, these people of the cross are here. The people of the cross. Because the people who became Christians used to call themselves the people of the way. The people of the way. That was the first name of Christians. They used to call themselves the people of the way. Not Christians at all. How do they get the name Christians? By foreigners, calling them people of the cross. They are following a man called Christ. Those are Christians. It was like a derogatory word. In Greek, Christ means a little one, something like that. You know? So it was like a derogatory form of addressing. Those are Christians, people of the way, that used the cross as a symbol of membership. Whoever was a person of the way was given a star, or call it a cross, to identify members. So these pagans said, those are people that are following the cross. They are Christians. They became Christians. From Antioch, look up Antioch, the church of Antioch. So in brief, it's a lie that Jesus Christ was born in December. Never at all. It's a lie that actually the day was special. Actually, the day was a pagan day of worship. And it's known fact that emperors in Rome took over 300 years to create Christianity. So I want to rest my case here, Nandip. I've said quite much, and I want to get back the ball to your court, and you do justice. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Comrade Kato. I'm just listening keenly to your nice talk about the origin of Christianity. By the way, my name is Nandip Andrew. As my comrade have already introduced me to the viewers. Nandip Andrew. I'm one of the panelists and the director of Humanity View Africa, board member of the Humanist Association of Nigeria. And we are discussing, this is our third episode on origin, meaning, and relevance of Christmas today. So we will continue, as my comrade has already said, till the day of Christmas. So the origin of Christmas in Christendom, that is in Christianity, is all about what copy. All this started with this man called Constantine, the emperor of the Roman Empire. As my comrade already said, when the kingdom is losing grip in the religious wise, he decided to match a new religion, which is the Christians, to his kingdom, of which he asked everyone to become a Christian. Now, yesterday, I talked about the book of Matthew and the book of Luke, how it was being said that the birth of Jesus Christ being announced by another book which is called Matthew, people from the east that came to visit this boy called Jesus Christ, and the book of Luke, the shepherd. This story didn't agree with each other. There is a contradiction in that. You see, the origin of Christianity is just a copy from ancient, belief to a modern one, of which we know everybody who is educated enough knows that there's nobody called Jesus Christ. Yes, it could have been Jesus Joseph. Why is it Jesus Christ? Because that Christ or that Jesus never existed in life. What we know that existed, a person that existed in history, according to Gera Massey in his book, when you read the natural Genesis, you will see also he kind of explained to us how the Roman copy an historical figure and match to a fictional one. You know, in history, there's a person called Joshua in Pantera, that is Jesus, son of Pantera. Pantera, who is the grandson of Jacob. That is history. When you read history very, very well, you will know that Pantera is a grandson of Jacob, and then that Joshua is a son or is a grandson of Pantera. Now, according to the origin, Pantera is a pupil to a Saendran called Joshua bin Parechia. There is this a revolve that happened between the Pharisees and the Saendran. And this Parachia decided to carry Joshua bin Pantera to Egypt. At that time, it was 700 BC. That is 150 to 700 BC, which the history was told that Jesus bin Pantera was around 15 years old, and he died around 50 to 60 years old. He was not crucified in the cross. He was stoned to death. Let me go back to how I started it. So from there, he was moved to Egypt, not as a child, like the way the Bible tells us that when the Herod came to kill him, and the mother and Jacob and Joseph took him to Egypt. No, Herod died long ago. That's why there's an historical, this Jewish historian, they call him Joseph. He write a story about Joshua bin Pantera, not Jesus of the gospel, where you read about Jesus in the book of Joseph is an interpolation. That is, the Christian decided to mix, lies into fact to confuse people that yes, Joseph is an historian in the Roman regime, and he knows about the existence of a man called Jesus Christ, of which is a lie. That is an interpolation. We check it out, we'll see. And then there's an historian also called Celsius. He doesn't even know the Jesus of the Bible too. There's a book that he wrote at the Logos, that is the true word. If you read it, it's talking about this Jesus, son of Pantera, that is Joshua bin Pantera. It's not talking about Jesus of the gospel. There's no Jesus of the gospel in the first place. So initially and to the last, Christmas is just not true. It's not a true thing that a man has been born to come and save the world called Jesus Christ. The Jesus that we know is not Christ, is Joshua bin Pantera, of which when they went to the Egypt, he learned a lot of magic, sorceries, and a kind of the ark of which the Egyptian learned. And during those periods, when he came back to Jerusalem or Judaism, then started performing those acts. And then people were so surprised that this one is God, son of God. He started saying that he's son because he will perform a lot of sorceries, magic. Strong meal will appear from the sky, dead people will rise from the dead. things like that happened, and the Jews decided to what? Stone him to death. They didn't crucify him. The crucifixion is the artwork of the Roman, not the Jews. The Jews, they are the one that killed Joshua bin Pantera. So the Christians, that is with the help of the Rome, kind of mix two, you know, things together. That is what is history and what history is true, and what is lie, which is fictional, which is the Jesus of the gospel, which is fictional. And then they mix it together and try to, to ban those books that Celsius has been wrote many centuries ago. And Justus also wrote books about this Pantera of a person. And Joseph also have books about Pantera too. And they also try to kind of manipulate those books, and some they bury it completely. When you see that you have it, they will crucify you and then they kill you. They want to make sure that the Christian religion stands. That's why there's a lot of persecution going on in those days. They call it the Dark Age, of which Christian killed unbelievers, killed pagans, killed primitive people massively. What the jihad of the Muslim they are doing during their time is not half of what the Christians do to the pagans. Yes, they will burn you alive, they will destroy you, cut you up, put you in the ant hills so that the ant will be feeding on you, and so many atrocity. And then when you are educated, they will say you are a witch. Many other enlightened uh, uh, people in those days were being murdered by these barbaric Christians, trying to bring up the origin of a, a fake and lies religion into limelight. In the book of John,
Manib, I'm hearing, I'm listening, and
Luke,
I'm following
yes,
closely.
hello, hello,
You
can you
are
hear me?
lost network, but
Yes,
continue.
yes. In the book of John, you will see that John never talked about the birth of Jesus Christ. That is the gospel. The same the way goes with the book of this Gary Massey. That is when you read the mystical Christ and the historical uh, Jesus. There's historical Jesus, but Christ is just a mystical thing that never existed in the first place. When you get that book and read, you will see what it is. So why Mark is the first book in the gospel, we are taking to number 3, to number 2 instead of number first. Was put in number 2 because we have in the book of the gospel we have Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So they change the story. So Mark and John give their story the same, and then Matthew and Luke give the same story, but they are all those gospel. They are all lies. We have over 100 gospel. We have the gospel of Mary Magdalene. We have the gospel of Peter. We have the gospel of Nicodemus. We have all other gospel. Why did they choose only 2? When Christianity, we are trying to be, fuse into the minds and thinking of people, because the Romans knows that they have to do something that people will accept. If they don't accept it, they have to force them to accept, like the way the pagans refuses, and we are massively killed. So the origin of Christmas is something that is not, people should celebrate. That is the way the Christianity they are celebrating now. It started with a bloodshed, because many of the Christians they don't know the origin of Christmas, because they just see it in the Bible, that is in the book of Matthew and Luke, that is the birth of Jesus Christ, and now is go beyond that. And when the Romans infuse this celebration, many people refuses to celebrate it, because there's already a celebration going on, pagan celebration going on, as the way my comrade have already said. So the origin and the meaning of Christmas, the meaning of Christmas, eh, that is what you say, that is the birth of Jesus Christ. That's not the birth of Jesus Christ. There's no person called Jesus Christ. There's none. So the meaning of Christmas is not even supposed to be, be said, because Christmas is nothing. Christmas is a pagan celebration of which all of us know. The relevant is not relevant to us any longer. Before, the Christmas is relevant to the pagans, but the way the Christians and the believer took over it is no more relevant to any thinking person, of which they bring in lies and force people to believe in lies and make people to accept lies. Thank you, comrade. Let me stop from here so that we come back for me
Thank
more again.
you, sir. Thank you, Nandip, for that very deep insight. Of course,
Mm.
on this very TV, I had a session where I took my viewers through the history of the Bible, and I told them who exactly wrote which book and when. That episode is on this TV. So when we talk about Sextus, Josephus, and others, I talked about them. In fact, there was no writer called Mark. There was no writer called John. They were not there. I talked here, giving references to who exactly wrote as Mark, who exactly wrote as John. There was nothing like a John. There was nothing like a Mark. Ask yourself, how would you get a John and a Mark in the Middle East? How would Jesus? They didn't want to hear these things I say. That's why people hate me. How was Jesus, who is an Arab? First of all, Jesus is an Arab. He has never been European. This guy simply snatched him. Jesus Christ was a brown man, if at all he existed. He was as brown as you, Nandip. Probably much little browner than you, but he was a brown man, not a Caucasian at all. He was an Arab, called them Semites. Now, how do you find a John, a Paul, a Mark among the Arabs? Sometimes people rarely think. That's why for me, I no longer want to debate with them, because there must be something wrong with you to think that in Bethlehem, in Israel of that time, there would be a John, there would be a Mark, there would be these people working with Jesus, John and Mark and Peter. So sometimes we wonder, do these people go to school really? If they go to school, do they understand what they read? For example, let me tell you more other lies than you laugh. For example, think about this. The Bible says that Jesus Christ, when he was born, after like 1 year, there were 3 wise men that came from east. You remember that? Now listen to this. That there were 3 wise men that came from the east. And the Bible calls them the biblical magi. In other words, magicians. In other words, intellectuals. In other words, astronomers. People who read astrology. People who could look at the moon, at the sun, at the stars, and read the environment. The 3 wise men came and went straight to Herod. Herod was not Roman, never at all. Herod had sons and daughters. In fact, Herod killed one of his wives, killed some of his children, fighting for power. He was a greedy man. Herod was just a consular, was just like a representative of the Romans. But he had too much powers to decide and a bigger territory, because it was placed under his hands. Jerusalem, the Jews were placed under Herod. Herod was not a Roman. Anyone can research. Now, But Herod wanted power for his children. Then the three wise men from the east, which is the east they're talking about? Some are going to tell you it was India. Another is going to tell you it was Persia. Another is going to tell you it was Ethiopia. They say the three wise men either came from Ethiopia, which is in Africa, or from India, or from Persia. Therefore, they were not Europeans.
Or from Nigeria.
Okay? Or from Nigeria. So the three wise men came, and they're telling us that when they were coming, they were following the stars. And that star is what they call the morning star. Now, I want to challenge anyone watching this episode to tell me if science has ever discovered the morning star. What star is called the morning star, which would guide someone in Ethiopia, someone in India, someone in Persia to walk facing up, looking for the star every morning, because in the night the star would get lost. And they were following the what? The star. From wherever they came, whether it was Ethiopia, as people say, whether it was India, whether it was in Persia, they followed the morning star and ended up in the territory of Herod and told him, look, we are the wise men and we have good news. We are seeing here that in your territory, there is a king of the Jews who has been born. And we have come to worship him. Now think about it. Someone from Ethiopia, from India, from Persia, comes and tells you, we are going to abandon our gods and worship this newly born God who is barely 2 years. Now they have come to announce. And first of all, I put question marks on how they arrived from Ethiopia, from India, following a morning star, which science has never proved to exist in the first place. Number two, they tell Herod, it's true. Herod was there. Herod was a consul. Herod was like an ambassador. Let me use the simple word, a governor. Herod was there. The history of Herod is true. But the crucifixion is wrong. Is a lie. The biblical Magi, the three wise men, are a liar. Now, Nandip, in a brief, assuming you were Joseph, I want Dennis to listen to this. Nandip, assuming you were Joseph, and then you are told that your wife has a holy baby inside her tummy. Okay? A magical baby. A Holy Spirit from wherever came and entered your wife. And by the way, Joseph was still a virgin. But they tell him that, look, Mary, this woman here, has been a virgin, but a Holy Spirit has entered her, and now she has a baby. Well, the father, it is for God. And as you are there with your wife in a manger, here comes three purely, totally different men we have never seen. And all these men have come with gifts, bigger gifts to give to your child you have not fathered. If you were me, wouldn't you think that Mary had had a sexual affair with these three men? Because think about it. People you don't know. This woman told you that a certain God made her pregnant, and as we are there, people bring silver, gold, ornaments to say, oh, a Lord has been born to us. Everyone is praising. Wouldn't you be suspicious that this man maybe made this woman pregnant? So you can see the stupidity of these lies. That one, three wise men come from wherever they came, whether it was India, Persia, or Ethiopia, following a morning star which has never existed, that could guide them all that long in the 4th century. And of course, they come to you and say, we are the wisest men. We have come to bow down because a new God has been born. It's a lie. Lastly, the pagan worship that Christmas replaced, it was a worshipping of a god called Mithra. Mithra. Anyone can Google that. God Mithra was being worshipped by many people in Europe. And that god could be manifested in December, just like Amun-Ra in Kemetic Africa, the god of the sun, the god of the Holy Spirit. So, in brief, Nandip, the whole origin of Christianity lies completely. The whole origins of Christmas lies completely. Me, as a peace lover, I have no problem with people celebrating their Christmas, but I have to tell them, look, these guys have been following us for a long time. They came to my land in Africa, in Uganda to be specific. The year was 1875. They brought us their nonsense called Jesus Christ. And they say that my ancestors were sinners. Actually, my ancestors went to hell. So they gave us their so-called version of Jesus Christ, which in fact was not theirs. It had been forced upon them by the Romans who conquered them. The Romans conquered them, forced them to avoid their gods, killed them, enslaved them to avoid their gods and take over a new Roman religion. Because Catholicism was the first main religion, at least let us say, of Europe, organized religion of Europe. Of course, we say that Hinduism was there, Confucianism was there, Buddhism was there. That is Asia. The Asians had their own religions already, well established. But Europeans were still confused with their so many gods. Then they invent Jesus Christ, and then they use it to conquer the world. So in brief, Nandip, I can say Christianity is a religion of imperialism. And whoever promotes Christianity before me is an imperialist. Religion is a form of imperialism. If your God is right, why don't you accept that my God is right too? I always ask that question. Why do you want to tell me that your God is better than my God? Nandip, is that fair? Why don't you want my God to be also good and say your God is always better? That's why I'm an atheist, because I say to hell with gods. No God exists, no God is better. Nandip, that's my summary for today. Over to you. Conclude it.
Thank you, comrade. Yes, I like your concluding part. My God and your God, they are all good shit. There is no gods anywhere. Now, Christmas, in conclusion, Christmas is full of lies. Number one, it's full of deceit. It's full of cheat. That's why, during Christmas, a lot of terrible things happen. People kill each other because of Christmas. People steal from each other. And those are Christians doing this to one another. And cheat us, also, we that don't even believe in Jesus Christ, so that they can be able to show up to their family, to their parents, to their wives, to their husband, to their girlfriends, to any other person that they see that, yes, God has blessed them. The blessing is not of God. Blessing, you are the one to bless yourself. If you want good things in life, you have to use your hands, work for it, suffer for it, and you will reap the benefit of your labor. Not through prayers, not through Christianity, not through, I don't want to
Mambo. Senga just said that, meanwhile, let's bring back that quotation from Senga. And meanwhile, Mary was just sitting on her ass. Oops, I mean her donkey. Senga, thank you so much for watching us. Of course, your mentor, your mentor was here. I'm laughing. because Senga made a very interesting comment. Your mentor was here, Nandip gave a very interesting comment that you have read the comment from Senga. Senga is
Yes,
shocked.
my
Yeah, your
mentor.
mentor made a very serious comment here. Maybe Dennis can bring it back. She said that,
Yes.
and meanwhile, Mary was just sitting on her ass. Oops, I mean that donkey. Yeah. So, you see, brass farmers are not alone. It's not only me and you. We are so many brass farmers. We are going to heaven. Oh, we are going to hell. Okay.
Oh,
Summarize Nandip. Summarize
yes,
Nandip.
thank you for this show, Comrade Katu. I really appreciate. Tomorrow we'll continue again. You know, I was so busy throughout today. I couldn't do much research on
Yeah,
this.
Senga said that celebrate the winter so it has instead. That's real. Yeah, that's true. I agree with Senga. Celebrate
Yes.
the winter so it is. Instead, that's real. I better celebrate that because that's real.
Yes.
That is real. Yes.
Yes.
Nandip, conclude. Our time is up. Conclude, please.
Yes.
Mm.
Thank you, Singer, my humanist celebrant mentor, for this wonderful comment. We really appreciate you. Please come over more and more to be, kind of following us on the Kato and the Gang every evening and every other show on Humanist TV Africa. I thank all the viewers, and please, we have a fundraiser for our Humanist school in memory of our late sister, comrade Linda Tilly. Please support in any other way you can. Little by little, a drop of water make the ocean grow. So just give your widow mind for this school to be what? To be built for the memory of our late sister and comrade, Linda Tilly. Thank you, Comrade Katu. Thank you so much. Thank everyone. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Nandip Bongfa. Thank you so much, Senga Ishak. Of course, Dennis is running our fundraiser, but Senga has been always fundraising, has been always supporting our projects. I have no complaint. She's always been with us, supporting us. Thank you so much, Senga Ishak. And of course, for commenting on our show and your candidate, your mentee, Nandip Bongfasa, who was here to receive your comment. Thank you so much, Dennis Bongole. Thank you so much, Nandip. And of course, see you in the next one. Tomorrow, let us discuss about the meaning of Christmas, but also the relevance of Christmas. Let us come with figures and see meaning and relevancy. See you tomorrow in the next one. Bye-bye.